Developed versus undeveloped world mentality. The following highlights in my own personal experience a few differences between us and them in terms of quality and delivery. Utmost diligence. Every assignment in developed jurisdiction is approached with diligence and utmost care. Once you are assigned a task, you are trained to accept and deliver all targets without excuse. There is no emotional attachments or sentiments. The job must be done. You are expected to make the most of all resources and justify all expenses. There is no free lunch or benefit for being in a position. The converse is true in the undeveloped world, as people see tasks as opportunity to quickly grab as much as possible without any thought for completing such assignments. Whether contractors, public servants or officers, the same thinking permeates the system, which destroys the fabric of their society. Perfection. The standard of service across the developed world is perfection. You are expected to show excellence in everything you are creating, or expected to deliver. Whether you build a house, repair a car, open a business or bake bread, the only possible acceptable standard is that you ensure that you comply with every rule and regulations, and never bend the set standard for whatever reason. You are expected to submit your work properly done, and free from error, otherwise you will be terminated without any sentiment. Therefore, the labor force ensure productivity and outputs are commensurate to levels of responsibility. Attention. There is a constant desire to improve ways of doing things to ensure efficiency and effectiveness by careful attention to details. However, I find that on our side, lackadaisical attitudes are the order of the day. From the mechanic who fixes your car to the doctor who operates on your body, no one is paying attention. Anything goes in a manner that leads to loss of lives and resources. Subordinates cannot write a letter and edit properly to superiors, therefore much man-hours are lost by leaders correcting the work of their staff. Pay attention, avoid errors and double-check your work to ensure excellent service and first-class delivery. Health and safety. The safeguard to all forms of danger by citizens is the systemic creation of an attitude of health and safety awareness. Marked exits, procedural manuals, contingency plans, welfare systems, warning signs are some ways that society protects itself and citizens. No one is allowed to jeopardize the lives of others through careless behavior. I attend a party where almost all the guys took a taxi home in the morning and came back for their cars later because they had drunk alcohol above the limit and personally made a choice not to drive their own car. This attitude of being your brother's keeper makes the society stable and safe and attracts people from undeveloped nations to migrate there when all is missing is the setting of such standards in their homelands. Accountability. The rate of corruption and impunity in the undeveloped is alarming considering the fact that are the exact candidates who need these scarce resources to build their society. Advanced society teach people to account for everything entrusted them, and swift sanctions follow when people show any deviation from the norms. The expectation from people is that the Commonwealth must be preserved and accounted for in a transparent and consistent manner. Leaders are held responsible for the smallest items under their car, and an executive can be sacked for leaving the office with photocopy paper or other stationery bought for official use. There is no sense of entitlement, and all those in uniform see the robes as a mark of service to the nation, for which they are venerated by the public. Betrayal and breach of trust are crimes that cannot be forgiven. Undeveloped nations parade on the opposite side, people with questionable wealth, and everyone aspires to leadership to feather their nest. Rule of law. This is an obvious marked difference between the two kinds of societies. No one is above the law, and the justice system seeks to deliver impartial decisions without fear or favor. Religion and ethnic considerations are out of the equation, and everyone is trained to comply with laid-down constitutional authority or face severe sanctions. This promotes an egalitarian system where everyone feels like a part of the whole, therefore there is less friction and grumbling expressed by crime, strikes, impunity, or total insurgency. Protocols, the adherence to manuals and procedure, is another marked difference. Whether the police, pilots, doctors, teachers, public transport officers, or even hotel staff, there is a reluctance to break protocols. Bribery and jumping queues are almost impossible to contemplate. Driving against traffic, breach of data privacy, disregard for norms and boundaries are things that are dealt with by the full force of the law. Therefore, everyone lives within the belief that they owe a duty of care to their neighbor by following protocols to prevent accidents or injustice. Feedback. It is important to observe that different from accountability is the standard of giving feedback to service providers to enable them correct errors in their systems and delivery. It is not seen as wickedness, rudeness, or an attack to report an official for failed service delivery and to ask for an apology or refund when dissatisfied with products or services. This allows the system to keep learning and improving. People are seen as stakeholders, and there is a constant effort to meet the expectations of all customers. There is feedback or complaint procedure across all organizations and a listening culture, therefore there is development of new ideas and level of service delivery keeps improving after each event. Unlike other cultures, where people who give feedback are seen as troublesome, which allows for rot and systemic decay due to lack of needed changes. Respect. I cannot emphasize this point enough. Respect for the property of others, the respect for human lives and even the lives of plants, flowers, animals, and a special care for the needy, underprivileged or handicapped. Respect for the nation and speak well of its future and prosperity no matter the challenges. This respect for others ultimately leads to a respect for your personal character and dignity. Noise control, refuse disposal, keeping to time, returning property in good condition, good use of common property, avoiding discrimination and nepotism are just some examples. The greatest respect is that of leaders for their followers, as there is no siren or get-out-my-way mentality by public officials, which ensures sanity and mutual respect in society. Competence. Modern, stable, and progressive societies have systems that make people rise in the hierarchy of responsibility and respect by merit and competence. In contrast, undeveloped societies promote quotas, nepotism, and people rise by grabbing power, flashing wealth, and name-dropping. This is a serious issue to be considered because humanity has always survived on the dominance of human hierarchy. People respect parents, teachers, policemen, and basic authority figures. However, once this is disrupted by external factors, there is a tendency to disrespect and distrust such leaders, and this leads to breakdown of law and order. This is the reason why credible emergence of leaders by elections or whatever process is a seriously executed event in developed societies. Conclusion. The huge difference in the developed and undeveloped nations, in my opinion, and from my experience, is the mentality, mindset, and mode of thinking. The search for perfection by individuals and society to overcome challenges is lost in the later. The lockdowns and accelerated vaccinations program and total response to the COVID-19 pandemics across both sides is a case in point. The developing countries responded with speed, attention, feedback, support, and sacrifice to fight the situation, while the developed nations saw it as an opportunity to make money and showed no empathy or seriousness to the pandemic. There is a need to change this third world to a first world mindset, rather than a mass migration from a resource-rich nation to places where people are simply managing themselves well. Copyright Adeyemi Agbelusi.